what we're going to talk about today, and that is the scariest movies of 2022. What a year was for horror, right? That's the biggest thing I think we have to talk about here right now is what a great year it was for horror. And so we're going to talk about it. I have several horror movies here up right now. I am running a poll right now because we're probably going to do a watch party to whichever one gets the most votes on there. So just stay tuned for that. But I want to go ahead and talk about some of my favorite movies of 2022, specifically the horror ones, because I think we had such a very strong year for horror. So if you're watching this live, appreciate you. If you're watching it after, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tomorrow will be the last day to enter the giveaway. All you have to do is be subscribed and comment below your favorite movie of 2022. It could even be any of the horror movies we talk about today. So just go ahead and comment below your favorite movie of 2022 to enter the giveaway. On December 25th, we will announce the giveaway winner. And we are also still funding our movie right now. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to leave a link below or on the chat for our horror film we're working on, that we're trying to get funded on Indiegogo right now. So make sure that you check that out if you haven't already. So I'm going to leave it right there and make sure you check it out. But let's get into some of the best movies, specifically the horror movies of 2022, and there's a lot. So we're going to go ahead and start right at the beginning of the year with Scream 5, which I think was one of those movies that everybody was anticipating, we were hoping for, and just wanting something to be delivered that was on a caliber we were expecting. I think Scream 4 was such a good movie and such a good way to sort of seal the franchise. It was going to be hard to top that, but I think Scream 5 came in at a right time in order to be able to do that. And Scream 5 is definitely a movie that I enjoyed very much so. Radio Silence delivered this film, and they had done other films as well, like Ready or Not. They've done some VHS segments. And so I was excited when I first heard that they were attached to this. Now we're getting Scream 6 in like a couple of months, and I'm excited for that as well. Radio Silence returning, Jenna Ortega, everybody involved in the first Scream 5, which is such an amazing movie in my opinion, and I did a good job. A little bit here and there that I could have changed myself, I thought, for the story, but overall I enjoyed the movie, and I thought it was such a good way to sort of get us into the horror season that was 2022. Another movie we had right after that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie on Netflix. Now this one's a little bit more on the either you love it or you hate it. I didn't find anything wrong with it in my opinion. I know it's not the strongest horror movie of the year, and I know that it is not like anywhere close to maybe the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I think in terms of what it was and the scares and all of that, it was decent and I enjoyed watching it. It went straight to Netflix, and I know many people didn't like that Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, but for me it was okay. Like, I watched it once and I was okay. I wasn't mad I watched or anything. I still thought it was a decent horror movie. I know there were some cringy parts in it, especially the part where they're in the bus and everybody pulls out the camera and says that Leatherface is gonna get canceled. Yeah, but overall I think that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie for Netflix was okay. Now we do know that we are hearing rumors that they are doing another movie for it, a sequel of sorts, and everybody else is involved that was in that one. So it's kind of exciting to see what exactly they want to do to this universe. But overall, I enjoyed this one, and I thought it was decent for what it was. So overall, I did enjoy that Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. We also got Fresh around that time, which was another direct-to-streaming movie that went straight to Hulu. Daisy Edgar Jones in it, as well as Sebastian Stan. And I think that this one was definitely one of the more interesting ones I didn't expect. So Fresh basically was about sort of like this, I wouldn't call them a cannibal, but it sort of dealt with human parts and everything. And it's funny that we got a movie just not too long ago, Bones and All, that kind of dived into the same things as Fresh kind of did in a similar way. But I thought Fresh was a very interesting movie, definitely more on the thriller than horror, but still had some very horrific moments as well. We also have X that came out around that time that Fresh did, and this is where I think we start to really see the shift in horror, because X really was this movie that I was anticipating so much before when it got announced that Ty West was coming back to horror. I really enjoyed Ty West, this short, well, not short, but his one of his first debut features, which was The House of the Devil. I thought that's such a very much so wonderful, underrated film. And so I was excited to hear that Ty West was coming and the director chair. We had Mia Goth, we had Jenna Ortega, Kid Cudi, some pretty big names, and I was excited. I thought that this was going to be a very, very cool project when I heard about it, and it definitely turned into that. It was definitely a project that I very much so enjoyed. I loved everything about it, and of course, it spawned a sequel that was Pearl, or should I say a prequel. We are getting a sequel to X, however, we'll talk about that more towards the end as we look forward to 2023. But Pearl came around and sort of sealed it as giving us Mia Goth as one of the it girls of 2022, and possibly a new scream queen as well, alongside Jenna Ortega, who was also in the movie X, although she was not in Pearl. But Mia Goth delivered a very strong performance in Pearl, and I think that that has definitely made her more of a household name than ever before. So I thought Pearl was great. It was definitely a movie that was much so less horror, I would say, and more drama. And I still am going to say it. If Mia Goth gets passed on for Best Actress by the Oscars, even in nominations, there's something wrong with the Oscars. Even though we know there's always something wrong with the Oscars, but that would just be insane. We also have Watcher, another film that I very much so enjoyed, directed by Chloe Okuno, starring Micah Monroe, and this one was very, very good. It was very subtle, very quiet, and sort of this tension builder of sorts, and you sort of have this snowball effect happening in a Watcher where you know something's wrong, and you're waiting to see what the wrong is going to be, and by the time it comes, you sort of felt that this was going to come, but then when it does like turn on you, you're just like, what is happening? This is a very good film. Watcher, definitely one I recommend checking out. I don't want to go too much into it because I think it's one that's best checked out, like once you can check it out. Then the summer came, and when the summer came, that's when we started to get some of the more blockbuster movies, of course. And y'all, I think my light just went off on me right there, so sorry for that. Let me take a sip of some water. So Nope came around. Jordan Peele was back. I was anticipating this movie so much when I first heard about it. Jordan Peele said he wanted to do a spectacle film, especially this movie coming out during everything that had just happened for the past 2 years. He said he wanted to bring people back to the cinema, and of course you need a spectacle to bring people to the cinema, and that's exactly what Nope was. Nope was this spectacle, this big grand like movie that he wanted people to come and see. And so I think that he really delivered that. I think he gave us Jaws in the sky, and I don't want to give too many details if you haven't already watched this, because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it is definitely a must see. So Nope definitely was one of those movies I enjoyed. We also had Bodies in the summer. This one very much so went under the radar in my opinion, but I feel as time progresses, more people are going to find this one and pretty much enjoy it because it delivered something special, and I really did enjoy it for that. So yeah, definitely Bodies is that for sure. So got some spam in the chat. Sorry, y'all. Prey, of course, being another movie that I thought was a very well done film. This movie as well by Dan Trachtenberg, who I think Dan Trachtenberg is very much so one of those directors that you don't hear much about him for a bit, and then when he comes back very, very good. Cloverfield Lane, of course, is another film by him. Orphan First Kill was another film that threw me by surprise when I first heard about it coming out. Never expected them to want to do a prequel to Orphan, but here we were, and honestly they did such a good job with this one. I was pleasantly surprised with everything that was delivered from this film, and am excited to check out whatever comes next from them if they decide to do anything else with Esther for sure. So I'm just naming them down right now, the movies. We're going to go more in depth about my favorite ones and all that good stuff, so stay tuned. Barbarian was another film that I, at the beginning of the year, heard about, and I was like, sounds interesting, right? I could get behind it. I did not expect to like it as much as I did, especially once we get into what exactly is the secret and everything else. I still don't know if we can openly say it still, because a lot of people I don't know have watched it, so yeah, we're going to talk about that movie for sure a little bit more in another video soon, so stay tuned for that. But Barbarian was a very much so pleasant surprise in my opinion. Of course, then we get into Smile, which was another film. I think it's very close to Barbarian in terms of feel and the monsters itself. I really do feel there's very much a strong connection. Another movie that I had no excitement for when I first heard about it. Like I was like, sounds interesting, sounds decent, but then once I saw this movie, I was pleasantly surprised by what it actually offered, and definitely loved it and want to see some more from this director as well here. So Smile was one of those movies right there. Then we start getting into some movie that actually went ahead and broke a lot of very interesting like Terrified 2. That's what I'm talking about right here. Came in and changed the game, because we had this movie that was very low budget when it comes to movies that are released on wide release in theaters and all of that. But it went ahead and it started accumulating word of mouth, box office, all of this, and it ultimately, I think, 20x its budget, which is insane and a good thing for the horror people and fans out there, because Terrified 2 showed that people were going to show up for horror movies that were outside of the mainstream, and I think studios are starting to pay attention as to what exactly it did. So I think it did such a good job when it came to that. Deadstream, another movie I think is very underrated. Definitely check this one out as well. The directors of this did an amazing job with it. They also have a segment on VHS 99, which is just hilarious and very well done. If you're a fan of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, you're going to love Deadstream for sure. Hellraiser. This is a movie I was anticipating, excited for, and just waiting to see what it was going to deliver. Once we got it, however, I wasn't as big as a fan as I thought it was going to be. I thought the movie was decent. I thought the performances were okay, but I thought the story was a little lacking, in my opinion, for what I was expecting. I'm just hoping that if they continue on, that we get something with more of this whole story a little bit better played out. Halloween Ends, a very controversial movie this year for sure. People loved it, they hated it. I am in the minority. I feel that I loved it, and I would definitely check it out again. I think the whole storyline that they did with Corey and all of that really worked out, and I think that this is definitely the way to go with the franchise. I think that it was becoming a little stale the way it was going, but I was excited with Halloween Ends. I'll talk more about it, but if you hated it, I understand why as well. We also have another movie that went very much so under the radar, which is Piggy. This is a film I got a chance to check out at Fantastic Fest, and it was fantastic. This movie really was a great slasher, very much so Brian De Palma feel as well, and I think it definitely is going to be one of those movies that in a couple of years we'll start to get a pickup of a cult following of sorts, and people are going to appreciate it a little bit more for sure. Of course, VHS 99 is a movie I just talked about not too long ago. Another one that I think is very much so a good watch, especially if you're just looking for something quick and easy. This is one of those movies that definitely is the one to check out for sure. But yeah, like a lot of these movies that I was talking about, they really did take horror to the next level this year. I think 2022 has been one of the best years for horror in a long time, and I was excited when I heard all of these releases and everything getting the attention that they were getting. And right now, let's go to the poll that I'm running right now on the channel. I'm just curious to see where it's at right now, because a lot of people have different likes, a lot of different feels towards these movies, and I'm just curious to see. I'm gonna do a more further breakdown of my favorite horror films of the year. I'm still kind of undecisive of where to put a lot of these movies, so that's the reason I haven't really gone and done it. But right now, if you go to the poll, so I wrote X, Scream, Halloween Ends, Terrified 2, Barbarian. Now I know Halloween Ends was not going to be high up here. Currently has 2% of the votes. Number one is going to be Barbarian with 40%. I'm about to lose my... I gotta drink some water. It's cold over here. But number two is Terrified 2 with 24% of the votes. Then we have X with 20% of the votes. We have Scream with 13% of the votes. And then I said if it wasn't on here, make sure to write it down. So some people wrote Pearl, others wrote Smile, and somebody else wrote Pearl. So yeah, those were some of the so far for this little thing I'm running right now to see what everybody's favorite horror film is. I want to talk some more about horror and all of that, because I think it was such a great year for it. So that's why I was running that poll right there. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I really did. So I'm gonna make these a little smaller here while I talk about them. I really did enjoy Barbarian a lot. I think Barbarian really flipped the script on a lot of the things we know from horror and all of that. And it really showed us this movie that was very much so pushing a lot of different horror genres, because it went in one direction and then it went in another direction, and we were just waiting to see what exactly was going to be like the direction it was going to ultimately choose to go in. And it just kept giving us surprises back and forth. And I think that the creature design here and everything was great. I am very much so like not understanding why Barbarian got overlooked by the Oscars when it comes to makeup and effects and all of that, because they did a great job, as well as X over here with the whole Mia Goth character as well. If you know, Mia Goth does play Pearl in that movie, the old Pearl, so it's kind of a little bit of a letdown for the Oscars not to actually give them any recognition when it comes to those things. So I was a little bit let down with the Oscars with that for sure. And you know, it's this thing with horror and all of that, and I'm gonna go deeper into this in the video I'm doing just for the Oscars. It's crazy that a lot of these movies that we just named and everything, although they were massive hits and they were very much so talked on social media and everybody seems to love them, overall still don't get the respect I think that they deserve from their peers, the awards and all of that. Even though we have such a great year for horror, I mean, like I said, Terrifier 2 has gone on to defy all logic that I think the studios had when it comes to movies like this, by very much so giving us an incredible run at the box office. We have movies such as Smile as well that did an amazing job. We have Barbarian, we have X specifically, a movie that's coming from not a major studio, but A24 is not a little guy either. And I think they only had like a budget of $1 million, and they very much so like over 10x'd it. You know, it very much so shows that people want horror now. People want these type of movies. They're looking for something different at the box office. So I'm curious to see where studios go from here for sure. Like I said, X, Pearl are very much so like doing wonders, and we are about to get Maxine, which is a sequel to X. Pearl is the prequel to X, so X is right in the middle, and then we're getting Maxine, where we're following the main character that you see in the poster right here for X, Maxine, after she has left the barn, and we're going to follow her into Hollywood, it seems. So there is this demand and this want for these characters, and I do get excited about this thought. I think Mia Goth has been like amazing this past like year for sure. And I'm curious to know, what is your favorite horror movie of 2022? If you're watching or listening, or if you're just watching the video after it goes up, just comment it below. We're still doing this poll, and we're trying to get some more of these answers in there. But yeah, like I said, this was such a great year. Smile, like I said, has a short that it's based on. I recently just watched it, and it is just as good as the feature-length film. I think the movie short is called Laura Hasn't Slept, and you can catch it on YouTube. But yeah, very, very good year for horror, in my opinion. And it just is continuing next year. We have Salem's Lot coming out next year, which was supposed to come out this year, but it got pushed ultimately. Evil Dead Rise, another film that was supposed to come out this year, but got pushed to 2023. We do have the Exorcist movie. We have that Sam Raimi movie that he's producing called Don't Move, which sounds interesting as well. And a bunch of other stuff, of course, also Maxine, and just a very, very good decade I feel we're going to get for horror right now. I think 2022 was the start of that. Like 2020, we started to slowly like decline on what we were getting. 2021 felt a little bare as well, but now, once 2022 came in, like I said, it started off running with Scream, and then we've just been nonstop ever since. So overall, I'm excited. I cannot wait. Just wanted to get this quick live stream, just talk about some of my favorite horror movies, and just hear out what everybody's favorite horror movie is as well. Like I said, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, subscribe. We are running a giveaway. All you have to do is be subscribed. Comment below your favorite movie of 2022. That gets you a entry. We do have the winner announced on December 25th, so you have until December 24th to enter. So make sure you do that. Make sure you also support our project on Indiegogo. We're trying to get that funded. We have less than 19 days to go, so go check it out on the chat or in the comments below, or in the description. I'll leave it as well. But as always, that is going to do it for me. Let me know your favorite movie of 2022 as well, in horror and all of that, and I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive, my friends.